What is going on, everybody? Today we're looking at the Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Series Wave 21 figures. So we have 4 more figures to look at here today. Starting off the front with a Cobra and a Joe with the Frag Viper and Blowtorch. So both look nice, with the Frag Viper being an army builder and with Blowtorch probably being like a pyrotechnic, coming with a flamethrower there. And then continue on with our Cobra and Joe. First we got Darklon, which is a part of the Iron Grenadiers and a family member of Destro, so cool to have him. And then we also get Footloose, so just another kind of basic army builder guy there. Joe to go with the G.I. Joe team. That looks cool as well. So I'm excited to check out all these figures. So let me get them open out of the box and we'll take a look at them together. So we're going to start off with the Frag Viper, which are Cobra's grenade throwers. They toss highly explosive fragment grenades with great range and accuracy using a cesta, which is the hurling basket that they'll come with, which is automatically fed and has a cable linked to the helmet with a rangefinder on it. So this looks pretty cool just in the form here. Kind of weird with the face. I don't know if they're like robotic or something, but it just kind of looks like that with the face design. Reminds me a lot of like King from the Marvel Universe, but just looks cool with the like, you know, more skin tone, but it's like very pale, and then the weird eyes with all the lines run through their face. So like I said, not sure if they're robotic or not, but then have the black face covering or head covering there, so it covers everything else but the face you see there. Then we get his outfit design, which is a lot of like this orange jumpsuit that has some brown, so like on the chest, on the inner arms going down to the forearms and stuff, we got some brown, and then orange on the legs as well, going down in the knees. We get some black area with some blue on the knee pads and blue on the front of the boots there that are all in black, with some black gloves on the hands that have some silver design on them there as well, but just like that orange and brown design thrown in there. And then to add more color, we get the blue on top of it. So we get the blue like chest harness and stuff here. So all the straps and stuff going around. I love how there's a little even like robotic stuff sort of fed in there. So like I said, I feel he may be a robot of some sort with this strap over the top as well with the Cobra logo on it, which is nice. And that blue continues into the belt. So we get all the straps around there with pockets and everything going down to the thigh holsters as well. So we get 2 thigh holsters on each side. So it looks pretty good. And again, more of that blue I talked about earlier. And then has a forearm guard here on the left arm. So a nice big padded arm there with a pocket as well. So just overall looks pretty cool. And of course, once we give his weapon accessories stuff, it'll look even cooler. But movement wise, the head will twist all the way around. Can look down that far and up that far, so not a whole lot of range. Not sure if the neck, yeah, it looks like it's on a dumbbell joint, so yeah, that's about as far as we get, unfortunately. Shoulders will come up to 90 with the butterfly and rotate around. Get a bicep twist and the double elbow joint that bends all the way up there. Get the wrist L twist around, and this one has a flex back and forth hand. Then we get his ab crunch, so you can see that cut out there, so crunch back and forth, and of course twist around at the waist, which would also have a little bit of crunching. The hips will come up to 90 and out to the side with those drop down hips. Thigh twist around, the double knee joint that'll bend up that far to back, almost kicking himself in the butt. Get a shin twist at the top of the boot, and the foot will flex back and forth and twist side to side. So decent movements, you know, pretty standard for the G.I. Joe, so nothing surprising there, and probably what we'll see with many of the figures today. Just depends on how much clothes and armor and everything they're wearing, depends on the range they get. But as I mentioned, he comes with a number of accessories. So first we get a helmet to put on, so this nice armored up helmet, which looks cool. It looks very like, at least to me, like buggish and stuff, but has the big rounded black eyes, the little mouth design in the front there and stuff. Just looks nice with the silver design, feeding into black that goes into a tube that then feeds into the backpack he'll come with, so we can slide this on his head, so it just sits on it like that, which looks pretty cool. And speaking of that backpack, we get this backpack, which just has a bunch, I assume, are the grenades and everything stuck in the back there that will automatically feed into. You can see we get a big tube we'll be able to stick in the side there as well. And then his breather piece will attach into the top there. So let's plug this into his back and get that tube connected. So there's the backpack in and that tube connected there. Now, as I mentioned, there's the hole on the side, so that'll be what feeds the grenades into his hand thing. So we can get that tube attachment piece, so we get this nice big thicker tube. It's nice flexibility and stuff though, the way it's designed, so it moves pretty easily and all that. We can attach this into the backpack. So it just plugs into it right like that. And then of course that feeds into his arm thrower, so the arm basket thing, whatever they call it. So here is that attached there. So we can slide this into his hand. Of course, he'll hold on to it there. The tube feeds into that, so we can connect that up there and get it into his hand. And then this will be how he throws the grenades out. So let me try and get this into his hand. So there I got the thrower onto his arm, and of course that tube all attached in there and stuff. So we'll have to figure out how to pose it around. And obviously with a thing like this, it's hard to really figure out how to pose it, because you can obviously do something like this where he's trying to throw it or something, you know, just trying to get it posed up to where he's throwing the grenades out. We'll have to try and get him posed up there. But speaking of grenades, he also does come with one that will go into the basket. So we get one with this nice smoke effect. So probably, you know, some that's shooting it out to get it to throw at long distances, but nice little red grenade design with some black on it as well. Now on the smoke, it does have a peg piece, and then there is 2 holes, so you can have it where it's being thrown further out, or, you know, just starting to come out. We'll probably do that one just for space and everything. So that can be stuck at us there. So it's like he's throwing us, like I said, we got to get it posed up for how he'd be throwing. I don't know how to get a figure to look natural, like trying to throw something like that as well. I'll have to figure that out. But he can be throwing that out of the basket there, which is pretty cool. So that is all awesome that he comes with that, you know, different and unique for him. And then he also comes with some guns as well. Some little guns, some little Uzis or SMGs here that we can stick these into the holsters here on his thigh, since his hands are pretty full with the basket. So those will sit in the thigh holsters there on his thigh. So he has those guns if we need it or want to give those to him instead. But looks pretty cool over, like I said, trying to figure out how to get him posed up now will be the difficult thing, because I'm not sure how you'd get this to look natural, especially with an action figure and stuff. But it does look really cool. Like I said, this is something that's different and unique, you know, not just your normal army soldier guy. He has the uniqueness with throwing the grenade with that handbasket thing. So that is pretty cool and nice design overall for the Frag Viper. And next up, we have Blowtorch, who is Timothy Hanrahan. He's the G.I. Joe team's flamethrower specialist. He's familiar with all incendiary devices used by the military, as well as pyrotechnics and heat protection devices. And he has advanced degrees in structural and chemical engineering. So he looks cool here. So it's almost like he's a firefighter, but in reverse, where he, you know, does all the fires and stuff, but for the good side, so, you know, setting good fires, using flamethrowers properly and all that. And love his design. It does remind me of a firefighter with the yellow and red design. The yellow, it's more of like a mustardy yellow, which is more brighter yellow. I think it'd be cool. And then the red's more on like the maroon side, so a darker red sort of color. So it's like if they were normal, it'd be much cooler with the design and brighter, but still looks good overall. So there we get the face of Timothy. Looks pretty good. Of course, as usual, hair sort of like flat down there because they'll have a helmet and everything, but face design, all that looks pretty good for him. Then, like I said, his outfit design with the yellow and red. So we get the nice like chest plate on here in the red. As all this design's not sure what's going on like with this. I don't know much about it, but he's got these little silver things all over his body, whatever they're supposed to be. So he's got those all over with like the yellow jumpsuit underneath. Love like the color design coming up around there. Then he has this over to the side. Again, not sure what this is supposed to be device-wise. Oh, probably for his breather, because he does have a mask and stuff. So I see the hole in there. So that's where that attaches. Get a belt around his waist with a holster on the side. So let's put a gun in there. More of that armor there on the front of his legs as well. Some knee pads. So probably a very similar pant design to what the Frag Viper had, and all the way down to the boots. So the black boots with some red on top of them as well, and then black gloves on his hands. So just a pretty nice design overall. Like I said, with the colors and stuff, I really like the look, and of course, as usual with the accessories, it'll make him look cooler. But moon-wise, the head will twist all the way around. A little stiff in there, it feels like, but it'll twist around, look down that far and up that far. So again, not a whole lot of range. Shoulders will come up to 90 with the butterfly back and forth and rotate around. Of course, got to get around that armor piece, but it'll rotate around there. Then we get a bicep twist and the double elbow joint that bends all the way up on itself. Wrist will twist all the way around and has the hinge up and down with this hand. Then we get the ab crunch, and see that under his armor there. So crunch back and forth. And then, of course, at the waist, a little crunch and twist. Then the hips will come up to 90 and out to the side with the drop down hips, thigh twist behind the armor there, the double knee joint that'll bend up that far to the back, and then down to the foot rock back and forth and twist side to side. So good movements once again, and still about the same. Not the like best range or anything, but good for what the Joes have. And moving on to his accessories, he does come with a mask that we can put on. So nice goggle design with the breather and the tube that comes out that I mentioned. So we can slide this onto his head. So there's the mask on his face, which looks pretty good. And of course, we can plug this breather into this device on his chest. So breather of some sort, probably to maintain oxygen to him and all that. And he also comes with a helmet. So helmet design, we've seen this, it doesn't look too dissimilar from what we've seen in the past. Maybe some lights on the side and stuff, but again, in the yellow color that we can then slide over his head. And with that mask design, it sort of fits up there perfectly. So it sits all around together there. So it's all nice and snug, almost like what's one solid helmet. So that looks really cool. Again, makes him look even more like a firefighter with all that. And then we get his backpack, so nice backpack design with some tanks and stuff, probably some fuel tanks to feed into the flamethrower. Now, I'm not sure if this was made for him or if it was just reuse of the torch from the Dreadnoks, but it has a little holder on the back here, but we haven't been able to figure out what's supposed to go in there. If anything is, like I said, they may just have reused this, but I can't get his gun to fit in there, so I'm not exactly sure, but let's plug this into his back. So that'll plug in there like that. And then, of course, with that, we do also get a tube that'll feed to the flamethrower. So we get a tube we can attach on the side here. And with that tube, we can then attach it into the flamethrower. So you get this nice flamethrower device, all in green, which I don't like too much, but it still looks good with like the silver they added onto it. So a little protection there from the tank, probably in case it explodes or anything like that. There's where we attach the tube and all that. And then, of course, where the flame comes out of the end. So let's put this into his hand and attach that tube up to it. So there's Blowtorch with the Flamethrower now. And of course with this, we do get some flame effects we can add on to it. So we just get a little flame here that will stick on the end. So that can just be like if you just have it normal. So just a little flame shooting out of the end there. And then we also get a bigger flame. So this one we can plug in. So again, just a much bigger flame sort of burst coming out. And then if it's like a steady stream sort of flowing out of the end as well, you can have that, which is pretty cool. So we get the different options there for him, which is all really cool. Love that. Of course, for space, we'll just probably put the little one in for now, just showing there is some flame coming out of the end of it there. So that is really cool. And then finally he comes with a pistol. So just a pistol in the green as well that we can stick into the holster here on his right belt. So it'll just fit down inside there like that. Of course, the tubing and everything, as usual, I feel they need a much more flexible tube design because it's kind of messing with the backpack and the gun and all that stuff. But there's Blowtorch now with the flamethrower with a little bit of flame coming out of the end of it there. Just looks really cool. Love the design. Like I said, reminds me of like a firefighter, but using flames and stuff with the flamethrower there. It looks really cool and an awesome design for him. And next up we have Darklon, which is the distant cousin of Destro from a long line of privateers, mercenaries, and investment bankers. He dispatches his private army to do battle for the highest bidder until Destro calls upon him to lead his legion of Iron Grenadiers. So it looks pretty cool for Darklon. This is a nice figure design, of course, with the colors, with like the green, especially with like the tiger stripe. I assume it's supposed to be, a camo of some sort. The red and like the yellowish color. It reminds me a lot that he should be with the Tiger Force, but he's not, part of the Iron Grenadiers. But looks cool. We get the nice helmet design. So like Destro, we don't really see his face, so he has a completely helmeted face. Maybe his eyes in there. If it is his eyes, he's got blacked out around his eyes and then like some red pupils and stuff or whatever. It kind of looks crazy in there. But nice mask design. Love like the the like spikes and stuff all over it and everything. Just looks cool. And almost like a bandaged head, or probably just covering on his head there, so you don't really see the rest of it, with a breather on the front. Then like I said, he's got the tiger stripe shirt, so in green with the dark green tiger stripes or whatever design's supposed to be on there. Nice straps across his chest with some of that yellowish orange thrown in for the colors up to a shoulder pad or pauldron piece here, armor piece. So some armor around his wrists and forearms there, leading into the gloves, belt around the waist with some pockets into the pants. Again, more of this red color with the orangish yellow like on the cod piece, and then on the thighs there as well, leading into the boots. So we had new boots, at least I've never seen before, nice slick boots in black. They're actually like orange but black coverings on it. Then like this one has a bunch of ammo, some big giant bullets on the front there, and then a pocket here for a sheath. So looks pretty nice overall with his design, something unique and different, starting to go into the more wacky and crazy designs for G.I. Joe, but still a cool design. But moon-wise, the head will twist all the way around, look down that far and up that far. So again, not the best range overall. Shoulders will come up to 90 with the butterfly and rotate around. Get the bicep twist there behind the armor, and the double elbow joint that bends all the way up on itself. Wrist will twist all the way around and flex up and down for the hand. Then we get to the ab crunch, so again, covered up by the armor there, so a little crunch back and forth and twist around. This is more of like the dumbbell instead of the full cutout. And then at the waist, crunch and twist around. Then we get the hips that'll come up to 90 and out to the side. He doesn't really have drop down hips, which is weird, but he has the thigh twist and the double knee joint that'll bend up that far to the back. And then down to the boots, we do get a shin twist there just under the knee, and the foot will flex back and forth and twist side to side. So decent movements overall. Nothing too different, crazy different, cut out for the abs and stuff there, which I'm sure we've seen before. Just today, it's been all the same sort of cutout design, but he works out fine just overall. No issues with his movements or anything. But accessory wise, he does come with an additional head, which is kind of cool. This more metal head. Again, it's just a mask you can see with the strap and stuff on there, but we get this with the black around the eyes, get the tongue sticking out, which looks weird with like the skull face and stuff. It looks pretty crazy, metal everywhere else, very like Terminator-esque and stuff. So let's see if we can switch that out. So there's what that looks like. I don't know which one I like more. I mean, this looks definitely crazy and creepy and stuff, so definitely a weird mask, but I think just overall I like the other one better. There's just something about that mask design I like more. Then moving over to his weapon accessories, first we get a knife. So big knife here, looks like an old ancient knife with the thicker design and stuff, just looks very nice and regal. So we get that sheath down on his leg we can store that into, so stick that in there. Then he also comes with a little revolver pistol, so like a little snub nose or something real tiny that we can stick into the thigh holster here on his back, so it's like the perfect little cutout for it. So the gun fits right back in there. Not the easiest to get into, kind of like damaged my fingernail trying to get it back in there. So not easy, especially with all the straps and stuff. Not a whole lot of space to work with and not easy to get slid in there. Then he also comes with a sword and a sheath, which is cool. So we get another sword, very similar to that knife. Looks very cool. Love like the serrations on there. The like red on the handle as well. Looks really cool. Just a really nice design for the sword. And we get a sheath to go with it. Of course, fits more with his design with like that yellow orange, some nice silver on it as well. So obviously we can plug this into his back and then put put the sword in it. So it'll sit on his back just like that. So that looks really cool. And then we get his main gun of the Gatling gun, which is pretty crazy. So we get the nice Gatling gun design on the end here. I don't think, yeah, it doesn't feel like it spins around, but it has all sorts of stuff, you know, stuff sort of feeding into it, probably the ammunition, little scope up top and everything. So a nice big gun here. Let me try and get this into his hand. So there's Darklon with his Gatling gun there as well, so that looks crazy cool. So nice gun design, you know, not too bad to get into his hand, not the easiest, especially with all the stuff going on around the grip hand and stuff there. So not the easiest, but still that looks really cool. And as I mentioned, he's the cousin of Destro, so here we got Destro to go along with Darklon, so we have both of them together, our family members. So that looks really cool. And again, an awesome design for Darklon, a character I was not familiar with at all or heard of until now, but he does look really cool. I like his design a lot. And that leaves us with our last figure today of Footloose, who is Andrew Myers. Now, he had it all. He was the valedictorian in high school, the track team captain, and went to university on a scholarship. And that was all until he went off the public radar and started acting weird. He would resurface 3 years later and join up with the army, where his behavior worried people, but he was seen as a reliable man in combat and one of the best in the field. So he looks good here. Of course, we're getting more into our basic army managed guys, so nothing really exciting going on with him, but does look good overall. We get his face there, which looks good. You know, again, nothing wrong with the face. Love his little mustache design. Again, hair sort of combed over, like swept over because of the helmet design, a little bit longer in the back. Then he's in a bunch of green camo, so we get the shirt. I like that's open, showing his chest. We get the sleeves rolled up. He's got an American flag on one side and a clover on the other. And of course, all that green camo continuing down to his pants, so like a whole suit there with the vest on over the top. So we get some places here, so like a sheath here that stores knife, little grenade, pockets going all the way around that. To the belt there, so a belt with all sorts of pockets, holster here, extra magazine there in the back, and again the green camo continued down, little bands on his wrist as well, and a watch on one side, all the way down to the boots there on his feet, so mostly black with the green designs on the side. So like I said, definitely into the more basic army man design, and comes with about what you'd expect with stuff like that, but still has a nice look to it, makes him a little more different with his design. But for his movements, his head will twist all the way around. Can look down that far and up that far, so again, not a whole lot of range. The shoulders will come up to 90 with the butterfly and rotate all the way around. Get a bicep twist and the double elbow joint that bends all the way up on itself. Wrist will twist all the way around and hinge up and down. Then we get the ab crunches, so it looks like he has the normal cutout there, at least from what I can see. But the normal cutout crunch back and forth, but even with the vest, it's hard to tell. And then at the waist crunch and twist all the way around. Get the hips that come up to 90 and out to the side. Again, those drop down hips, thigh twist around, the double knee joint, that'll bend up that far to the back, and then we go down to the foot, that'll rock back and forth and twist side to side, and then of course that boot does also twist around up in there like a shin twist. So pretty much exactly the same as all the others. So yeah, nothing too different or out of the ordinary there for him, but he works out just fine, so that's all that matters. Now to accessories, he does come with a helmet, so we get a nice helmet design. Love that it's got like all the netting and like leaves and stuff on it, so it makes it sort of blend in more. Has like binocular piece there in front of his face stuff, so just a nice design that we can slide onto his head. So it'll sit on him just like that, and even has like little microphone stuff that'll come over to his mouth, so that's pretty nice. So you get that on his head. He comes with a backpack as well, just your basic backpack, nothing too crazy about it. You know, has the canteen and full pockets and all that stuff. We'll plug that into his back. So he's got that stored on there. And then we start to get to his weapon. So first he comes with a knife, so that'll go in the sheath here right on his vest. So slide that up in there. So he's got that. He also comes with a pistol, just basic all black pistol. Now he does have the holster here on the back. May have some issues getting it in there, so on the back of his belt we can slide it in. So that I'll store in the holster right there. So we got that. Then he also comes with a rifle, most I think like an M16 is what it looks like. Of course, magazine will come out of it there. It looks pretty nice. So we get that we can give to him, or we can give him the RPG, which is pretty nice. A nice big rocket launcher design there. Of course, we've seen guns like this before, and everything looked pretty nice. And we even get a rocket that we can stick on the end of it. So different design than what we've seen with like bazooka and everything. So that's pretty cool. Let me see if I can give this to him. So there I gave him the weapons, and I'll be honest with you, I have no idea how he's supposed to hold this at all. Usually with like bazooka, we had, you know, like grips and stuff to hold on to, but he has no grips at all, so not exactly sure what it's supposed to be doing, like to hold on to that to be able to use it and stuff, but I just got it up there on his shoulder with that rocket, so that's probably the best I can do. I don't know how that's supposed to be worked at all. And then just put the other gun in his hand there. So he looks pretty cool. Like I said, more your basic army managed, so nothing really exciting about him or anything, but I just like, you know, he's different with the chest more showing, the different design, like leaf design on his head, the RPG that looks pretty cool with the new rocket design and stuff like that. So again, not exactly sure how it's supposed to work, but I think it looks cool the way he is there. Well, that is it for our Wave 21 of the G.I. Joe Classified series, where we got the Frag Viper, Blowtorch, Darklon, and Footloose. All four of these are really cool, like the designs of each one. Of course, got a lot of uniqueness, especially with the Frag Viper, Darklon, and Blowtorch. Like I said, Footloose is more of your just basic army man, but he does come with some different stuff to make him different from what we've seen so far, but still not as exciting as the other three are, which I think are all really cool with their unique designs and everything. So let me know what you thought of this wave down in the comments, and if you enjoyed my review, let me know with that thumbs up and hit the subscribe button to see more. But I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you all stay awesome out there, and I'll see you in our next review.